Hello everyone and welcome to my virtual poetry performance. This is what it has to look like, but I hope you do enjoy my 15-minute set, probably about 4 poems. So obviously we are on the theme of identity. So I'm going to start off with one of the first poems I ever wrote about identity, or the first poem that I kind of was conflicted what identity meant. Is it radical love letters to Liverpool, or is it writing about Islamophobia and racism on the streets of Liverpool? And and as a writer, you have to be quite honest with the themes that you want to write about. So I guess I do. People might say I contradict myself. I say I think I am trying to understand my identity through the work that I write. So this poem is called Belong. We swerved between checkpoints. Armed young men watched from a distance. An elderly man squatting in a dark corner stared. A group of veiled women watched from the balcony, giggled, and I stuck my national flag out of the car window. Reds, whites, blacks faded, and the colour in my skin brushed against the plain window, holding my mother's hand across the sea. And the wind blew me west, and I was there. I was there in a strange land, and I was there greeted. Soon we became friends, best friends. Too soon we betrayed our roots, olive back-combed hair. I hated the smell. My jet black hair falling down my back, too thick to carry, too different. I chopped it all off. And I was there in glass windows and brick walls. An immigrant sacrificing her mother's tongue. Begging on the streets for a penny for a guy, watching the firework display light up your new city, and eat a halal Christmas dinner and sprinkle grandma's spices, a taste we've been trying to recreate, even if we tried. Soon, my Scouse accent lingered on my tongue, and I wanted to feel wanted like that. And I wanted to feel wanted like that, and I made sure that I did. But I slept with my mother's voice in my ear, never forget where you came from. But in my broken Arabic, I said, Hada huwa biladi. This is the home that I need. And then a white boy shouts from the other side, Hey, where do you come from? I picking at my skin scarred with mosquito bites to remind me what is marked should never be forgotten. And in my perfect broken English, I come from here. I come from here. He looks down at his hands, but you look different. I stuck my tongue out. You want to come out and play? He nodded and smiled. We played piggy in the middle with his friends, and by sunset it was my least favourite game. And I couldn't sleep that night because there were sirens on my TV, and he looked like my uncle. Bearded, Arab, brown eyes, olive skin, terrorist, as he pulled my scarf to the ground. And he left me there. But you see, I kept God in a small box, and I learned how to cry. And then a white man on the bus whispered in my ear, When are you going back home? And I said, if home asks for my return, I will return. And I'll meet her between the valley and the mountain, and you'll find me drinking water from her palms. We see war has separated us, and I yearn to taste my mother's bread and knock at my friend's house to tell her, maybe I do not belong here. Thank you. So I've got a bit of a cough. So let's go to the next poem. So my next poem is, I think it's only right that I do now, one of my radical love letters to Liverpool. Said I Speak Scouse was commissioned by BBC Six Music Festival. It was one of my first poems I ever wrote to Liverpool. And I guess this poem is kind of, is that other side of identity, is that if we talk about Islamophobia or racism that affects how we view ourselves in this world, or affect how people view us, there's also love for the city and the place that you have been brought up in, and Liverpool is that place, and so yeah, let's hear the poem. So as I said, one of my first poems, I was still trying to understand what a love letter is to a city, but I think I've got so many of these now. So say, I speak Scouse. My granddad arrived on a boat to a strange land, rested on her port, drank water from her Mersey, greeted by her liver birds, and they lent out their wings. And here he opened his corner shop on Lawrence Road, selling broken biscuits for half a penny. Here he settled where dreams are carved and never forgotten. And she is not New York, where dreams are wonders. She is a promise never broken, a secret across me heart and swear down to never tell a soul. And she is the love letters found at the bottom of the river, stories floating to her waves and voices echoing her pain and happiness. Happiness of those who passed by and those who stayed, the Irish, Afro-Caribbean, the Chinese, the Yemenis, Somalis, the Greeks, the Welsh. Her beauty is her diversity, and my city, she has a face that is hard to forget. Maybe not the prettiest of them all, but the most friendliest you'll find. And my city, she's the most down-to-earth bird you'll ever find, enough to make your heart go by. Her stubbornness is her resilience, reds or blues. She never gives up. She never walks alone. Wounded or scarred, she picks you up too, that's her charm. And she is Hope Street, hoping for a better tomorrow. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be, because what makes her whole is the people's voice, because I say, speak Scouse. Fire from my stomach and loving kindness from my heart. And she taught me to stand up. Stand up. Speak up. Be anything. Be anything, and my city is my home. And her name is Liverpool. Thank you. So that is, of course, my city has, as you can hear from my Scouse accent, it's a very important role in kind of who I am today. I am not just Scouse, I'm also Yemeni as well as British, but I'm definitely Scouse before British. So I think the next poem I'm going to read is it's called Victory Far From Ours, and this poem was commissioned by IWM, and the poem was asked of the writers to identify or express what victory means to us. And I was really conflicted by this poem because, most of my time I'm also campaigning against any war or any type of injustice or oppression. So when I wrote this poem, I really kind of identified that victory does not belong to us. Victory is only written by victors. It's in our history, but yet what have we learned from our history from time and time again? We're still burying women, children and men. Young children are singing national anthems with death part of their theme. And coming from Yemen, which is a country that has been in a war zone for the last 6 years, this is very, very close to my heart, and it definitely shaped who I am today and the voice as a poet. So victory is far from ours. Victory. Awaken by the morning noise. In big crowds and waving flags, the long war is over. The long war is over and the celebration is owed to our survivors. Of the longing hearts of the people of the past, in a promise, viva, viva la freedom, is the voice of victory that does not belong to me. And I married the world to understand it. But the earth is too dry, perished in complete darkness to paint blue skies. Because when was the last time I looked up? An awaiting storm to wash away the streets of wasted blood. In the rain we keep on dancing to find that victory is far from ours. And I hid under classroom desks, meddling my fingers in someone else's story, guarded by warlocks, to blindly see what was beneath paper made of ashes and the terror that lives in our children. Because between the bullet and the trigger is always God's given right to live. And I hid under classroom desks, learning of the great wars in my own ink of my forefathers were yet to name, bleeding to death inside of me, and a gravestone found in heaven. Yesterday's history is a calamity in a world of 1,000 mothers and an orphan child, lost on the street searching for its rightful home, our secret between borders. Because between the oppressor and the man-made missiles is God's given right to live. And I hid under classroom desks, skipping pages as my eyes grew confused, the black and white moving pictures, and we part ways, waving our greetings and farewells. Is another suicide in our trenches? Is a child cradling war in its first steps in the rubbles of destruction? And when death is part of their national anthem, then what is victory? Drowning in army coats, standing in line bigger than their feet, swinging AK-47s around their necks, digging holes in their back gardens with their names engraved in headstones. What is victory? Because between the missile and the target is God's given right to live. And we mourn dressed in black, scatter our flowers and fill our fields in colours and stand in stillness. While those who plant bombs in people's homes for the fuse to light up, cradling war in our arms, is not our victory. And waiting for the victors to write history is not our victory. Guarded by the oppressed is not our victory. Victory is far from ours, and it does not belong to me. Thank you so much, guys. I have a few minutes left, so I'm not going to start a full poem. But what I will do is I will end it with a short extract that I wrote in Arabic, then translated it in English, which is kind of the love letter to my other home, Yemen. And one thing I want to express is, with the theme of identity, is that I learned through writing poetry that I can have multiple homes, and I do not have to sacrifice one identity for the other to belong, that I can have both. So, and just because I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning, my name is Amina Atiq. I am a performance artist, facilitator and activist, and I hope you enjoyed my set, and I will leave you with just a short extract, and thank you for listening. I love you. I love you, I love you, and I love those who love you. And even if they stitched my lips, I will rip them apart only to repeat your name. I love you, I love you, I love you, and I love those who love you. And I yearn for the day I see you stand on your feet. In faith I hold close to my heart, I believe you will. For I am your complexion, and I am the dryness to your nose, and I am the shine to your forehead, and I am the daughter of an Arab, and I am the wanderer in my own skin, yearning to return home. Thank you.